Hi, how are you doing today? How to lunge your horse so you can have amazing, fun, fulfilling rides. If you're coming on the replay here, please put replay in for me. And if you're on live, let me know where you're coming from. Let me know what you're doing with your horse and what you would actually like to do with your horse. So, students we work with are looking to build a forever bond with their horse, right? They want to be safe. They want to do the right thing with their horse. They don't want to make mistakes. Maybe they have a young horse that they're starting, maybe a horse that's new to them, maybe a rehab horse, maybe a horse that they've been riding a long time. But our students don't want to make mistakes that they might set them back or set their horse back. So if you're again on live, let me know where you're coming from and tell me what you are doing with your horse. So, hi, I am Chris Adderson, and I'm the founder of forthehorse.com. And I'm going to give you, first of all, here the definition of what lunging is, right? And then I'll give you my definition of what lunging is. So, generally, if you're new to horses or whatever, lunging is where you have your horse on a line. And so they're circling around you or whatever you're doing, but that's what lunging is on the general terms of it. This can be a really hot topic. There are many opinions and there are many disputes about it. So what I wanted to do is talk here about the core basics of lunging and give you my definition of lunging. And my definition has the complete consideration of the rider and the horse. All right, so this is my definition. And I have my notes here and I'm streaming on numerous platforms. So if I'm not looking directly at you, that's what I'm doing here. So my definition of lunging is where the horse is on the end of a line of some sort, and that line can be invisible, and it's attached to the horse in some way, and that can be an invisible attachment. And you're making all kinds of figures, depending on the level of education of the rider and the horse, and this improves our connection with each other. And it leads into riding more advanced work with your horse. Okay, so that's my definition of lunging. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about the core basics of lunging here. All right, so number one area of lunging, and I hinted at it in my definition, is liberty. Okay, so I absolutely love liberty work. I've done a lot of it. It's a lot of fun, and it can be used in so many different situations. Basically, it's when you don't have a physical line attached. That's that invisible line that's attached, right? And horses love it too. Riders love it, the handlers, the people love it, but horses love it too if it's done well. And you can reach very high levels with liberty work that translate into your riding, your in-hand work, everything you do with your horse. So, an example, I was asked to do an audition, and it was for an outdoor play that happens every summer. Well, used to happen before the pandemic. But this play happens every summer, and I was asked to do an audition. I got a phone call, and the woman said to me, "We need a horse for our next summer play. It needs to be a white horse. It needs to be a horse who can do all kinds of different things and be very impressive. And we heard that you have that." And so I thought to myself, well, I have actually two horses that could fit that one description. One was an Andalusian gelding, and the other one was a Morab mare. So she said, "Your audition is on this day. Bring your horse and show us what you can do." So I actually chose the Morab mare. Her name was Gem, a beautiful white mare. And went to the audition, and everything we did at Liberty. And at the audition, it was not in a fenced area. It was completely open. It was at their farm, and they had the bleachers set up. It was actually behind the bleachers, but it was completely open to the whole entire 80-acre farm. So my horse could have gone anywhere. So I did the audition, and what we did with Jem was we did the rear, we did circling at Liberty, we did all three gates, we did sideways, we did coming toward us at Liberty, we did lying down. So we did all these things in the audition. And that's an example of how you can get very advanced with your horse. And now I have to say that we were accepted for the play. It was called The Blue Horse, and Jem was the star in the play. She was painted all in blue with kids' tempera paint before each show. It was a show that ran for 30 days, 30 nights, sometimes 2 shows a day. And she performed amazingly well. We had to I trained the actor who actually was the lead actor in the play how to work with Jem, so that all our training that we had put into Jem translated directly to another person. So this is another good thing about Liberty. And it was just an amazing, amazing experience. So this is where Liberty can take you to very, very heights, as it did with my horse Jem. So let me know if that resonates, and if you have done any Liberty training with your horse. Just put a comment in for me below, and put a note for me below, so hopefully I can see comments here. I see a lot of people jumping on, so again, let me know where you're coming from, and let me know if you have done Liberty with your horse. Okay, so Jem was a very, very high Liberty example. And Liberty, in this example, because she was doing so many shows, like that's when it really shows if your work with your horse is good. She did, like I said, many, many shows, day after day, night after night, and she had to perform. The other aspect of that, though, is that we continually trained her body to move effectively so she wouldn't get degraded physically. All right, so that is very important. And that's what I'm going to talk about also. I'm going to talk about Liberty lunging. Here I am already, and online lunging, because I feel you cannot do one without the other. We want to continually upgrade our horses' bodies, right? Build them to be amazing, beautiful athletes, not degrade them. And with Liberty work, it can be degrading to a horse's body. All right, Connie says hello from Windy again in Kansas. Hey, Connie, great to have you here. She says, I've done Liberty with Miss Buckaroo. Very good at following forward and backward circles and figure eights. That's great, Connie. And horses love to do it, and the people too. So another example of where I've used Liberty training was a person in our online program. And she came into the program, her name's Sharon, and she was desperate. Her horse was actually very dangerous, and she was in her early 20s. So I was worried for her life. And what was happening was that her horse was rearing up, actually turning towards Sharon and striking, and doing what Sharon described as having temper tantrums. Okay, so when we worked with her in our program, we brought everything back to the basics. We found the source of what the problem was exactly. And what was it that pushed her horse's button? And I refer to this in my program, is the horse's button. What is it that causes something to push your horse's button. Okay, someone says, I'm just starting to do Liberty work, but I really don't know what I'm doing. I would love to learn more. Excellent. I can't see your name. Sorry, but whoever said that, that's great. Great to hear that you'd love to learn more. There will be a link somewhere around this video that I'll put in that you can use to book a call with us and see how we can help you with your Liberty. All right, so back to Sharon. So this horse was dangerous, and Sharon was feeling scared, like not only scared, but she felt like she wasn't good enough. Like she didn't know what she was doing. She was always thinking about it. Like even when she was not with her horse, she would think about it at dinner, or she would think about it before she went to bed, or in the morning when she woke up. She was like, I wonder what my horse is going to be like today. So we found what that button was that pushed her horse into that, what Sharon described as temper tantrum. And we found that it was a clarity issue. So Sharon was not clear with her body, and she didn't even know that she wasn't clear with her body. So here she was feeling like a complete loser and in a potentially very dangerous situation, and didn't know that she was actually causing the problem. So the best solution to solve that problem was Liberty. So we helped her online with Liberty with her horse. We did live lessons. We showed her how to actually move, how to be where she needed to be at the right place, and how to read her horse, and how to make it so that the horse had clear boundaries and that Sharon had clear movement. Her horse was a very sensitive mare, and everything she did, the horse picked up, of course, and actually drove her horse kind of mad. And this is where the horse would blow up and be very unpredictable. And so now she has a very predictable, well, horses can't be completely predictable, right? But we have a very predictable situation because Sharon not only knows what's happening, but she knows how to fix it. All right. So, all that to say that when Sharon could not find out what the holes were in her work and what was happening, and the horse was then exploding, she was able to do it through Liberty. So, Liberty work is one way of doing lunging. The second way, and if you are enjoying my lives, you can press the bell icon, click on the bell icon so that you will get automatically notified when I go live, or you can click those three dots and set your notifications to see first when I go live. All right, so the next one I want to chat with you about, and let me know if you have done this, and that is lunging online. And probably every horse person has done lunging online. So let me know, put a note for me if you have done it and where you are struggling with your lunging online. Okay, so online has so many different purposes. I've already mentioned some when I talked about the Liberty. And if you stick around here to the end, I have a video that I'm going to share with you. It'll be actually, because I'm streaming live on many platforms here, it'll be live only in my free Facebook group, which is called Ride Your Horse and Float. So if you want to see the video, then you can go back and watch the video there. So this video is a video I took a few days ago of me with my horse ZJ. And if you've been following me, you know that ZJ, I'm bringing her up after the tragic death of my top dressage horse about a year ago. And it's showing how I'm working on transitions, how she is not completely using her body well, but we're working online. It's a work in progress, and we're working on a trot to canter transition. All right, so online, so many benefits for doing online, aren't there? Let me know, put a note for me below what some of the benefits are for online lunging for you, and I'll check my comments and see. Okay, so just put a note for me below. So basic things are, it's for good for a young horse, right? Basic education for starting young horses. For more advanced horses, you can use it for balance, rhythm, coordination, improving the gaits. Working on transitions, right? I mentioned this video I'm going to show you about the canter transition. You can use it for communication, um, using voice commands, perhaps. Body language, of course. Uh, Young horses, I mentioned. Crookedness, I mentioned. Energy. This is an interesting one. And some people use lunging just to blow off energy for a horse. So this is something that all my horses are actually out and they're not stalled, so they don't have that issue where they have tons of energy, but they have issues sometimes where they're spooky or it's windy, the weather's not very good. So online lunging is very good for that. It helps them to calm down and to settle down. It's a place where you can check how your horse is moving. You can check how your horse is feeling. You can check how you are feeling, how you are engaging with your emotions, how you are controlling your emotions. It's a great place for exercise too. All right, so there's so many benefits to lunging, and put some more down as notes for me below so that I can see what your benefits are. So now in my program, this is how we use lunging. We use lunging to reinforce our place of power. All right, so us as riders, as athletes riding on our horses or using in-hand work, we need to have our place of power. And that is always not clear to riders. Sometimes riders think it is, they think they know what it is, but they're not absolutely crystal clear. And this is what I do in my program. I help you to find out exactly, crystal clear, what is it that you need to do to find your power position. What do you need to release? What do you need to coordinate? Then we use lunging to talk to our horses, to have a conversation. So I have a question for you. Does a horse respond to commands of a rider? Yes or no? Put it as a note for me below. Or is this a place to start a conversation with your horse? Okay, so this is what I like to think about it as. It's the place to start the conversation with your horse. Just like movement, and just like riding, it's the place to start. So unless we have attention to actually listening to our horse, actually speaking to our horse, actually giving back to our horse once we've listened, then lunging is going to turn into something that's boring, because horses are intelligent, and when they know they're being listened to, then they start to engage and cooperate and actually have a conversation back with you. And that's where it gets interesting for horses. That's where lunging is not at all boring. I mean, you can make lunging extremely boring for horses and shut them off. And it's our enemy to have horses that are bored. But if we have an engaging and a two-way dual conversation, that's not boring, is it? We're not just telling the horse commands. We're not just blurting out things for the horse to do and expecting immediate obedience. We do have boundaries, though. I'm not saying that we don't have boundaries of acceptable behavior around humans, right? We do have boundaries, and very clear boundaries. And one reason why Sharon had problems with her horse to the point where she had a very dangerous horse was because she hadn't set clear boundaries and didn't understand her body language and what she was saying to the horse. All right, so the next thing that we do in our program with and how we use lunging is feel. So riding is all about movement, and movement is all about feel, and sitting in the saddle is all about feel. contact with the reins is all about feel. So this is the place that we first introduced how to feel. How to feel your horse on the end of the line, which then translates in how to feel your horse while you're riding. Example, Deb, who's in our program, she experienced the first 1 or 2 weeks in our program, and she then got on and rode her horse. And she later sent me a video on one of our group calls, and she was absolutely speechless. She couldn't believe how she was then able to feel from just doing what our exercises that we do with the ride the rebound. She was able to feel it, and her horse was able to feel it so clearly. So she was able to just do what we teach, and the horse responded instantly. No make involved in there. And this is also where we teach about riders' emotions, subconscious blocks that are holding them back. Um, what is the mental state? When you're on the lunge line, you can focus more on these things, right? What is coming to me? My horse is being confusing. I don't understand. So maybe I say to myself, I can't do this. I'm no good. Why am I doing this? A subconscious block. Rather than saying, I am good enough and I can help my horse through this. I just need to find the right way, right? This is what we work on, all these voices that come into us when we're working our horse, which actually holds us back. It stops us from knowing what to do. It stops us from actually being there and being in an evaluative and observing mind so that we can figure it out. All right, so also we use the least amount of intervention as possible. And this relates to back to the feel as well. Is there leaning happening? Is there not leaning? Do we want leaning? Do we not want leaning? What is contact? All those kinds of questions. That relates back to that. Like that's just another topic completely, isn't it? And so when you're working with your horse, put a note for me below. If you have, I just want to ask you if you've experienced that confusion or that place where you feel that voice natters to you that you're not good enough, or why are you doing this? You can't figure this out, or I'm not strong enough. Put a note for me below and tell me, does that happen to you when you're with your horse? All right, and other things that we really like to do within our program with relating to lunging is letting the horses explore. All right, and so this relates to liberty as well. Let the horses figure out, let them explore so they're not becoming robots, right? This is a partnership, and a union in harmony is not about one part of the partnership being a robot. It's about us both coming together, dancing together, understanding each other, having a communication, having a talk with each other, and fun, exhilaration, results, comfort, ease, and flow. And also, online can be a segue to trailer loading, because the better you have your online, the better then you can handle your horse in a more challenging situation like trailer loading. All right, so let me know if that resonates with you, and if you have had that little voice in your head come in and talk to you when you're with your horse. Put a note for me below. So, last question I have for you around lunging, and that is what are you trying to accomplish with your horse when you lunge? I've given you so many purposes, so many benefits. I've given you examples and shown you how online lunging with Liberty online can help in so many different ways. Now you need to answer that question. What is it that I'm trying to accomplish with my horse? And give yourself and your horse the expansiveness that you need to do a good job with your horse. So I'm going to put this video on. Hopefully I can find it here. I got my tech person helping me. I can't see it.
I think you have to go to
Banners, I think there.
your brand.
Okay, we're good. My amazing tech person, my husband. All right, so we are going to put this video on so you can see it live here. Wait a second, let's get this going here. Okay.
Here we're working more and more towards a smooth and strong upward transition into the canter. So not rushing, but from a nice slow trot as best as she can manage. She's a very powerful mare and finds it difficult to do this. But you can see here I've slowed this down. I'm asking for a canter here with just the lift of my right hand. And she does a very nice job of lifting into the canter, strengthening her whole entire body to do so. She does very well here, considering that she's not been too long doing this. Not too long ago, she would fall into the canter and not be able to hold it as she is doing here now.
You could hear my voiceover on that video, and you can see how ZJ, my mare, she's an Oldenburg mare, was doing her trot and canter transition. And you can see in that video that she was able to start to use herself a little bit better, right? She was able to now start to use her hind end and to come around the circle. It was a fairly small circle too. She was not able to do that. I started this out on Liberty, where she would do trot canter transitions at Liberty, and then I went online and started to make her circles smaller and smaller, and so that she could use her body more and more in a coordinated way. All right, so let me put notes for me below what you think about that video that I just showed you. And again, if you're on my free group, you will have seen it. Otherwise, you just would have heard the voiceover. So someone says, when working at Liberty, do you think it's acceptable for your horse to change directions without being told? Okay, good question. And I'm sorry I can't see your name. I'm on StreamYard, so what you have to do so that I can see your name is you have to allow StreamYard to connect to you so that I can see your name. And it's very easy. You just click on it and follow the instructions. Okay, so it depends. At Liberty, this is about a horse changing directions without being told. If it's a young horse, a very young horse, that you're maybe just starting out and the horse knows very little, then I would not go to the point where you're going to be really particular about change of direction. That's later. That comes just a bit later. With a young horse, you just want forward and an upward trend, going forward and coming back down, right? That's all you would be looking for. Whereas if you have a more advanced horse, then no, I'd say no. You do not want your horse to change directions unless you've asked your horse to change directions, right? Because you can't do much with a horse that's constantly changing directions. And actually, the example that I gave you earlier when I talked about Liberty with Sharon and her horse, that's what her horse was doing. So Sharon had got to the point where she had inadvertently, probably with not knowing what her body was saying to her horse, taught her horse inadvertently to change direction when she didn't really want it. And then her horse started to use that when she got confused. Yes, you could define it that she was having a temper tantrum, but the horse was just confused. I have a very strong belief that horses want more than anything to get along with people. And they don't go out of their way to be obnoxious or have temper tantrums. Their temper tantrums, because they may be more sensitive, are something that we need to listen to. And this is what was happening to Sharon's horse. She was getting upset. She was changing direction. She was rearing because the horse was so frustrated because Sharon wasn't clear. She didn't have clarity. And this is what we teach on our program. First thing we teach is how it can be crystal clear with your movement. All right, so if you want to expand your process with your horse and expand your possibilities around liberty, around lunging, around mindset, around going to the highest levels of lateral movements, for example, then that's what we do in my program. And if you are here and you're just thinking perhaps, okay, if I get in your program, just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do. Tell me what works with my horse. That's not how it works, okay? What we're going to start with in my program is, why are you not working with your horse to your full potential? What is holding you back? And remember earlier I talked about that voice in our mind that keeps coming up, probably all of us in the middle of what we're doing with our horse, that voice comes in. That's what we work on. And that's what we show you. And we have a process for this, is what are your blocks? What's stopping you from progressing with your horse? And in the program, someone is there for you, because sometimes these blocks can be very deep and you don't even know they're there, but they're very ingrained and very clear to your horse. So it can be a time that's very confusing, but we help you through that. And we help you realize that what has happened to produce this kind of a block is actually something to protect you. But we helped you to find out that that protection of our bodies for ourselves has maybe gotten overdone or hidden too much. We pull it out and we process it and we help you to get to the other side. All right, so the mental aspect, the emotional aspect, and the physical aspect, as we talked about, riding is all about movement. And if you do not understand your movement, then you won't be clear to your horse. And when we work on your body and with your movement, we help you to really connect with what is your good, pure movement. So then, when you go liberty or you go online or you're riding, you can have amazing, fun, and fulfilled rides. And your horse will live this with you. And that's when you get true unity. So if this is what you want support with, then click on the link that's somewhere around this video. If it's not there, I will come in and put it in afterwards, or put a note for me below. I always come in and check comments, so if you're on the replay, feel free to put in notes or questions, and I'll come in and chat with you. And so book the call, click on that link, and see if we can help you with your horse to overcome the struggles that you are in with your horse that is really holding you back from having fun and wonderful rides. Okay, thanks so much for being here. It's great to have you. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Okay, bye for now.